Today, let's talk about ethics and ethics in management. And I know a lot of people are going to see this as kind of nonsense and, kind of a weak, lame thing to talk about, and they're going to skip it. But let me tell you, it's very important. You need to understand the legal and social aspects of what's going to happen if you make bad decisions. So, why should we as managers care about this stuff? Well, bad social responsibility is bad for business, and bad PR is bad for business. It can be fatal for business. You can see companies right now that are suffering from, saying the wrong things, or CEOs who lose their jobs for saying the wrong things. So, my personal experience, I've seen, experienced, and been asked to participate in bribery, fraud, theft, disseminating misleading information to the media, which other firms, government, investors, Wall Street, and so on. I've been asked to support and make outright lies to the public, government, management, investors. I've been asked to cover up the above illegal activities and more. I've seen the misuse, I should say, of HR, illegal firings, racial preferencing, denial of benefits, and so on. I've had a boss who sexually harassed me, and I have seen sexual harassment cover-up going both directions. And this is just a small list that I could think of in a few minutes. How important are ethics in companies? Well, let's look at some quotes from famous people. Alan Greenspan, the former chairman of the U.S. Federal Reserve Board: "The best chance you have of making a big success is to decide from square one that you're going to do it ethically." Peter Drucker, famous business consultant: "There is no such thing as business ethics. There's just ethics, and we all have to practice them every day in everything we do." Not bad advice. "You'll sleep better at night knowing that they are not coming for you." And that's a direct quote from me, from personal experience. Some more applicable quotes. "Capitalism is the astounding belief that the most wickedest evil of men will do the most wickedest of things for the greatest good of everyone." Yes, when you read it out loud, it sounds crazy. And this is by a famous economist, Maynard Keynes, this gentleman over here. "At this moment, America's highest economic need is higher ethical standards, standards enforced by strict laws and upheld by responsible business leaders." George W. Bush, July 9, 2002. And about 5 years later was going to be the largest economic crash in the U.S. history since the 29 crash. "All that is necessary for evil to triumph is that good men do nothing," and that's attributed to Edmund Burke. So what are ethics? I mean, people talk about the word, they throw it around, but let's get some meat behind it and say what it really is for our purposes. A set of moral standards for judging whether something is right or wrong. Okay, fair enough. Second definition denotes the theory of right action and the greater good. Greater good is doing what is best for the most number of people. And morals are the practice of ethics. So, business ethics: application of moral standards to business situations, and it is practicing what is best for the most. That doesn't mean the most people in your company. It means the most people, including your investors, your shareholders, your suppliers, your employees, your management, everybody. Another word that's thrown around a lot is justice, and we're going to define that as equitable distributions of the burdens and rewards society has to offer. An example of that is compensation for business success is equitably shared among employees. That includes management and regular employees. Another example: executives sharing equal pain for business failures. In the old days at Hewlett-Packard, I don't know what's happening there now, but according to the HP Way, Dave Packard's book on his company, when the company was expected to take a 10% hit, both management and employees were expected to take that 10% hit, not just the employees. So here's the question: why, as a manager, should you care about this? I mean, if the employees have to take all the pain, you just get more for yourself, right? Well, think about that. Think about the long-term ramifications of the quality of employee you're going to get. Justice, definition 2, what society considers as fair. So example: equal pay for equal work. Yeah, or even paying somebody for their work. A lot of companies, I have seen people get outsiders to do work for free, promising them, a supplier contract, an employee contract, or an employee hire, or a consultant contract. So, yeah, individual rights. Every society around the world believes that certain individual rights are from birth and they cannot be taken away arbitrarily. So in the US, we say it is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So this is from Brigham Young University. It is recognizing unethical business activities. This is a good checklist to go over to make sure you or your company or the people around you are not doing things that are unethical. So the first one is taking things that don't belong to you, stealing, saying things you know are not true, lying, giving or allowing false impressions. So this is misleading people or conning people, if you will. Buying influence or engaging in conflicts of interest. So this is when your responsibilities are influenced by personal gain. Somebody offers you some tickets to a basketball game. If you give them some special deal, yeah, that would be wrong. Hiding bad information to cover up or divulging secret information, theft of IP. So yes, these things are more common today in our more digital age. Taking unfair advantage of power and knowledge, and this can include your suppliers, employees, even your bosses. Committing improper personal behavior, for example, sexual harassment. Abusing another person, putting them in the way of extreme or dangerous work and torture. Permitting organizational abuse. A great example of this is offshore child labor, where companies say, hey, we're not hiring those people. Our contractor hired those people. Yeah, that is permitting the abuse. Yeah, you may not be doing it directly, but you're allowing it. In fact, you're encouraging by paying them. Violating rules. This can include company rules, legal, contracts. You assume that all these things are in place in order to maintain order and a fair arrangement. Condoning. This is approving or ignoring unethical actions. Yeah, all it takes for evil to triumph is that good men do nothing. Okay, there it is. So some examples of ethical dilemmas. Should I support my boss's incorrect, antisocial, or illegal views? These are examples I've seen personally. Theft, fraud, misreporting. There was a case where I was asked to look at an offshoring report, and I did my typical MBA analysis of it, and I concluded that the company was actually no better off offshoring than keeping it onshore. However, it did not go with the management's desired goal of crushing a unionization effort, and that was really one of their motivations. So yeah, I gave them my honest economic and financial evaluation of it, and it was that, yeah, I would not do it because you're increasing risks, and yet you're not really gaining anything financially. As a result, I was never asked to review one of their proposals again. Prepare, support, or sign a false document. For example, double billing clients. I've been asked to do that. That's just plain illegal, and you will go to prison for it. Accept a gift from a client. During a business trip overseas, a gentleman and I were talking, and I said, oh yeah, I've got a pilot's license. And he said, oh, I have one too. You want to go for a ride? I got a plane out here at the airport, and we'll, after work, we'll go for a ride. And I said, sure. Didn't think anything about it. Unfortunately, that is accepting a gift of value above whatever the limits are, $25 or whatever these days. And as a result, I had to compensate the owner of the aircraft an equal amount to what the value of the airplane ride would have been. And I got a slight reprimand for it. So yes, I understand that. At the time, I was like, what? I mean, I would give him a ride if he asked me, and I wouldn't think anything about it. But yes, you have to carefully examine what you're doing. Sometimes these things are subtle, and they will rise up to bite you. So I was wrong, and I made up for it. Travel. What if a client asks you, hey, I will give you some free travel to visit my company. we're very interested in what you're doing. Maybe we'll work together. And oh, by the way, you can go skiing while you're here, or there's a nice fishing pond nearby or something. Hotel, are they going to pay your hotel? Well, you have to ask yourself, why are they doing it? Are they doing it because they're benefiting from it, or are you benefiting from it, or what's the deal? Like basketball tickets to, say, a playoff game. Somebody offers you those. Those are very rare and valuable. Somebody's doing that. Maybe they're expecting a favor in the future. Another ethical dilemma is give special treatment to a friend or a boss's friend. So, for example, hiring the boss's niece. So here's some advice. Don't get put in that position because it's not going to end well. If she does a great job, okay, but nobody would be pressuring you to hire their niece, nephew, son, daughter, whatever, if they were already pretty good at it. So, avoid that position if you can. Use a foreign sweatshop to produce my products. Okay, this one's rather tricky because, child labor is wrong. They have sweatshops where workers are being underpaid, but what's the alternative? There was a famous business case where somebody went over to Asia. They were having clothes made in sweatshops. The kids were very young. Frankly, they probably should have been in school. But when they got caught and it came out on the news, the company just ended the contract and all these kids were thrown out on the street. A lot of the girls ended up in prostitution. Some of the kids starved to death. They were orphans, had nothing else to do. So, it's an ethical dilemma. It's like, by Western standards, yes, we should not employ 14-year-old kids to work in a factory. They should be in school, but what's their alternative in their culture? So we have to be culturally aware of what's happening. Okay, let's ask ourselves why good people do unethical things. There's a lot of rationalization for unethical behavior. I've heard it all. You convince yourself that the behavior is not really illegal. This is called denial of responsibility, denial of injury. And it's an example of what they call neutralization. You can look up that if you want to. Behavior is in everyone's best interest. There's a moral justification. It's for the greater good. I'm not just doing this for me, my bonus, getting a promotion. I'm doing it for the good of the company. And yes, I've heard this. Actually, both times were from sales reps. Nobody's going to find out. So this is diffusion of accountability. It's mental minimizing of the risk. And it's another part of neutralization. So you're giving yourself plausible deniability. You're denying the responsibility. You're saying, if nobody finds out, it's okay. It's not wrong if nobody knows. The next one is also very common. Everyone does it. If I don't do it, somebody else is going to do it. This is called social comparison. It's a norm justification. It's wrong, but everybody's wrong. So it's like if you get out on the highway and everybody's speeding and you go, well, I'm just following along with everybody else. It's the same idea, only this is with criminal behavior. In traffic, you may get a ticket. You do it in business, you may go to prison. And it's another neutralization technique. The organization will protect me. They believe they can hide behind their authority. They've gotten really full of themselves and their position. They think they're somebody important. This is something you can look up on Wikipedia. Robert Moffat was busted for insider trading. The guy he lost $65 million in stock options, and they figure the total value of what he got out of it was like $10,000. But he was having an affair with a girl, or at least allegedly having an affair with a girl who was doing the trading and getting information, whatever they were trading information, something like that. Again, look this up to make sure that I've got the details right. But he did 6 months in prison, and again, he lost his job and he lost $65 million in stock options. So, thinking that you can hide behind the corporation, they may protect you for a while until things get hot, and then you're gone. A little bit more of why good people do unethical things, and how to prevent your rationalization of doing unethical behaviors. So ask yourself these questions. One is, how will I feel if my family and friends find out about what I'm doing? Yeah, think hard about that. Question 2, how will I feel about it if it goes online and or makes national news? And this happens a lot more than you may think. Yeah, there was what? The Pharma Bro. Yeah, so there you go. There's a good example of that. Question 3, is this worth my job or prison time? I had a boss. We were sitting in the room in a small meeting, and somebody proposed something, and she came back with a line of, no, 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 this is the kind of thing you go to prison for. Kind of implying that if it wasn't prison time, she might be in for it. But yeah, if it crossed the line into going to prison, she wasn't up for it. Factors influencing business ethics. So why aren't ethics universal? I mean, everybody has an idea of what's right and wrong. Yeah. Well, yeah, but we all have a little bit different ideas, and they vary, especially if you work internationally. So here are some things just to give you an idea. There's many, many, many ways of looking at right and wrong, but here are 3 of them that are very common around the world. First of all is egoism. So self-interest is the primary goal, and it's what defines what is right. So for example, acquisition of wealth, power, fame, and a good life is right. So whatever I have to do to get that is the right thing to do. And you may be aghast at this, but you'll see this online all the time. You'll see rich people getting up in front of you and just say, yeah, I did it. I did it because, I wanted a good life. I needed the money. I needed to do it for whatever reasons, but it's all about themselves. This is from Adam Smith's Invisible Hand. The problem with that is it's outcome oriented, and it assumes a knowledge of the future. It assumes that what you're doing is going to bring wealth. It assumes that you're going to get power, fame, and a good life from what you're doing. It assumes that it's not going to have a bad outcome. So yeah, this is kind of bogus, but again, it's a very popular view. Utilitarianism is you select the choice that is best for the greatest number of people, that has the greatest utility. So utility is a finance term and an economics term. It means the greatest good, or what does good for the most people. The problem is, again, it's outcome oriented, and it assumes knowledge of the future. It assumes that what you're doing is going to be best for the greatest number of people. And the third one I chose was deontology. You meet your social and individual obligations based on some rules or duties. It could be law, it could be company policy. However, some things are never allowed. You cannot sacrifice one person for the benefit of most. You can't throw somebody in the volcano in order to stop the bad weather, something like that. That's the usual example that's given for that. It's easier than utilitarianism because you do the right thing that does not interfere with others' rights. Some other philosophies will have different outcomes for the same ethical questions. Factors influencing business ethics. There are 3 sets of factors that influence standards of behavior in a firm. The first one is called factors affecting individuals' ethics, and individuals' involvement, knowledge of an issue. If you know too little on purpose or not, so you may be avoiding learning about something, say child labor overseas, it may lead to an unethical decision. Individuals' values affect their morals. Yes, so it may be your church, it may be just your personal moral beliefs. Those things affect your morals. Personal goals and ambitions. Well, I really want that promotion. I really want that raise. I really want those stock options. So maybe this isn't so bad. Other people would do it. So we'll go back to that kind of excuse. Social factors, cultural norms. Is tipping government employees okay? In some countries, it is tolerated. I wouldn't say it's acceptable, but it's tolerated. Coworkers, monkey see, monkey do. Yeah, you see your coworkers doing something, you're more prone to doing it. Significant others. Well, how does your spouse react to what you're doing? Do they say it's okay or not? Are they like, no, this is not the person I married? And how social media is used or misused can reflect on a firm. So yes, those are all important social factors. Then there's opportunity. Opportunities can make it easier to do wrong things. So for example, doing business on the clock, people making TikToks on the clock, things like that. using, basically it's stealing your employer's time. If you're getting paid and you're not doing something for your employer, it's really theft of their money. Ethical codes, weak codes, open opportunity. So yeah, if you go out and tell employees, do whatever it takes to get this contract, that's weak. Enforcement of rules and law discourages unethical behavior. So yes, if you crack down on people, if you say, yeah, taking that free lunch from an outside party was wrong and we're going to take it from your salary, and by the way, this goes into your personnel file for your next promotion, those things make a difference. Ethics in companies. Yeah, we're overusing that word ethics today, aren't we? So let's talk about ethics in companies. There's ethics external to an organization. That's government legislation and regulations. So you avoid these entanglements by good behaviors, by good ethical behaviors. Trade association and industry guidelines. Well, that helps keep a level playing field. And that's also true of government legislation. I've said a lot of things that people will gasp and say, oh, you're anti-business, because I like good regulations. I want good regulations because that way I know that my competitor is playing by the same rules I am, and that I'm not going to be forced into doing something illegal or unethical, and then I end up going to prison or I end up on the news or something like that. I want to know that we're all playing by the same set of rules. Internal to an organization, code of ethics, a written guideline of acceptable and ethical behavior defined by the company to outline policy standards and punishments. Yeah, that is important. It should be written, not just spoken, so that people can go back to it and say, yes, we can see what's written black and white. The organizational environment is also important. Management direction should be strong, clear, written, and enforced. Employee training by management and managers on what is ethical and considered good company policy. And it should be done by management and managers. Why? Why should managers waste their time, as I've heard people say, just talking to employees about what's ethical? Because unless they see a manager saying it in front of them, it gets diluted really quickly. Yeah, so the manager should say, this is important enough to spend my time that I'm going to come and talk to you about this. And that way employees get the message. And you should have an ethics officer where possible. Yeah, small companies won't be able to afford that. But if you can, to have someone that's part of their job to go talk to somebody if they're bending the rules, or it looks like they're proposing things that may not be good. Could be a sales rep, it could be somebody in HR, but you should have somebody out there to go talk to those people who may be proposing things that are wrong. Whistleblowing. Well, first of all, make sure it's not needed. And then you should allow employees a safe way to report wrong behavior before it blows up and costs the firm. A really excellent example of this is I worked for one of the largest companies on the planet, and there were a couple of MBAs who were doing things that their behavior went off into a lack of ethics after it was starting to turn up that they were basically incompetent, and they were doing things that were jeopardizing the company. However, there was no clear way of reporting it. And finally, I was a computer engineer at the time, and I ran some reports that I had just written, and the numbers were frightening. And so I went to people, and there was no good way to go in and tell management that there were some serious issues with some of the people they'd hired. Yeah, but it did work its way up to the top because I was a trusted employee. People said, okay, this guy doesn't usually come out and just, make up nonsense. He doesn't overreact to stuff. So they did listen. It did work its way up. Yeah, but there should be a formal way of doing that where I could have gone and talked to somebody, and they could have calmly and professionally discussed these things and then gone to the right people. Would have saved a lot of headaches. Here is a flow chart you can print out and keep in your desk drawer, or keeping under the glass on your desk, or wherever you need to, about making ethical decisions. First of all, ask yourself, is what you're doing, does it have legal constraints or consequences? So for example, prison. If the answer is yes, do something else. If the answer is no, what's the next question to ask yourself? Fails the firm's code of ethics? Well, Yeah, I mean, could it get you fired or could it get you reprimanded? Yes, do something else. No, does it fail your personal ethical philosophy? This becomes harder because the company may not back you on it, but yes, do something else. I have been asked to do illegal things many times, and in every case, I could find a legal, ethical, and according to company guidelines way of doing it that was actually better, just plain better overall. Saved us money, saved us time, whatever. But yeah, sometimes it's hard because you have to go against the people telling you, and they're usually your superiors. No, can it go viral or appear on the news? Well, yeah, definitely do something else. No, do it, but keep monitoring yourself. Make sure that you're not going to slip into unethical territory, because if you're having to ask yourself questions like this, there's probably something in the back of your mind saying, okay. But yeah, do it, but keep monitoring yourself. Let's talk about whistleblower protection. Whistleblowers actually help protect companies. There's been many companies that have gone bankrupt, had serious, serious legal issues and social issues and blowback from customers and suppliers because they did things that were wrong. They suppressed whistleblowers. Yeah. So whistleblowers help protect companies. They help protect investors, customers, suppliers from employee and management misdeeds. They preserve the company and industry ethical standards, and they stop illegal, harmful, and wasteful behaviors. And these are all good things because if you do the risk analysis and the return on investment on these type of things, yeah, it's almost always better to just do the right thing. Allow the whistleblower to come forward, allow them to tell you what's wrong, and then deal with it. If management can't deal with it, that's a whole different problem. That's a management issue. And if it gets to the shareholders, if it gets to the board of directors, they should be acting on something to remove management. Because of this, whistleblowers should be in the best interests of the most number of people. They have high utility, and as such, they need social, legal, and government support. I mean, where are they going to work after they blow the whistle if the company doesn't want them around anymore? So there's an example of Karen Silkwood. She worked for Kerr-McGee Corporation. She felt that there were some serious things going on. She tried to tell management, they wouldn't listen to her. She took it to people. People just weren't listening. And as a result, she finally tried to go to a news reporter. And on the way to the news reporter, she had a car accident and died. And supposedly when they went to look for the materials that she was carrying, they were gone. There's a whole bunch of conspiracy theories about this. But whether she had materials or not doesn't matter, because in the end, the company took a hit because suddenly everybody is saying Kerr-McGee was hiding whatever she was trying to whistleblow on. She died because of it. And the whole thing, right or wrong, just turned into a huge mess for management. They could have avoided it by listening to her, by taking action. And again, if the management couldn't deal with it, maybe it was something for the board of directors to deal with. So how can whistleblowers be good for companies? Well, my personal ethical advice and experience: maintain high ethical standards for yourself. It keeps you out of prison and lawsuits. It allows you to work faster because you have trust. I have borrowed very high-end equipment from other companies, and that allowed us to create products that were joint efforts. So both of us benefited by it. And as a result, both companies were selling more products. But if we had had to go through contracts and all sorts of stuff like that, it would have dragged out and our competitors would have gotten the best of us. We would have lost. Inspires others. You can't force people to change, so you need to inspire them. Lead by personal example. The SEC, the IRS, and Justice Department will ruin your life. If they come into your life, it's not going to get better. From my personal experience, companies often say or write one thing and do the opposite. Take note that HR is there for the company. If you're a low-level manager or an employee and you decide to whistleblow and you go to HR, note that I would say there's an 8 out of 10 chance it's not going to go well, because they are there to legally protect the company. And so, yes, that's what they will do first. Management is going to stick together, and frankly, as a manager, they should to a point, as long as they are sticking together to protect what is right and not just what is right for them. They should not be protecting stuff that is illegal, but they should be protecting the company from slander. Say you have an employee that just wants to grind an axe, they feel they've been mistreated, so they start making up stuff. Sadly, this also happens. So you have to balance this. You have to do what's right for the company without taking it over the line. And yes, I'm struggling with this because it's not easy. You really have to consider it. You have to do the right thing, and a lot of times that's very hard. Do not become a patsy. Yeah, see the above up here. Document things when they start going wrong, when you're asked to do things that are wrong. Document, write it down. Don't say, yeah, well, I trust their word or whatever. Don't do it. Don't do it. And in the end, if you don't fit, if you don't have the ethics, if your ethics cannot match up to the company's, go where you're appreciated. Okay, well, that's it for ethics. I know it's a tough row to hoe, but there's a lot to it, and it takes a lot out of you. I mean, dealing with these kind of things are tough, but something that's got to be done. Okay, so let's go on to the next topic.